And we are live again from beautiful Medellin, Colombia. It is Tuesday, August 4th. When this goes out on the podcast, it will be Wednesday, August 5th. So we're getting through the summer here with crypto, getting through the pandemic slowly. It's pretty good. Medellin's pretty good in Colombia. I've got nothing really to complain about in terms of everyday life, but watching the U.S. from a distance definitely gives you a different perspective. And there's a lot of nasty things happening in the economy. But what I want to touch on today, because I've talked a lot about Bitcoin, I've talked a lot about Ethereum, I've talked a lot about Cardano as it's been coming up. I want to talk about a couple other cryptos that I consider dark horses in 2020, dark horses going into 2021 that, not just will perform well, most likely, but will also see a lot of positive development. And some of them have been around for a long time. And it's important in terms of diversification to have, widespread knowledge of the industry and what else is out there. So I want to talk about that. But before I dive into that in the specifics, I want to talk about what's happening with the U.S. economy and where we're at this summer, because a lot of people think that, we're starting to come out of this. A lot of people are going outside more. They're not wearing their masks. They're not taking proper health precautions per se in a lot of, big cities. There's a lot of riots and protests still going on, and the virus is spiking again. Cases are back up. People are getting sick. And that's going to affect things a lot heading into the fall and the rest of this year. And it's likely that things will get exponentially worse. And there's some good statistical reasons pointing to that I want to point out before we jump into what I want to talk about mainly with crypto. But so it's important to understand that in Q2, the second quarter, between April and June in the US, the U.S. economy contracted by 32.9%. That is the worst quarter on record, I believe, in the U.S. And that even dwarfs the 2008 recession, the worst quarter in that recession. And it's really not close at all. So that should be a benchmark to tell you that the economy is not in a good situation. And it's not at a point where it's going to just recover and things are going to go back to normal. People are still rioting and protesting, trashing small businesses. Supply chains are struggling. Unemployment is climbing because people can't necessarily get back to work. The Federal Reserve is urging another lockdown to try and, contain the virus and, deal with this as quickly as possible, while also advocating for another round of stimulus, which is likely on the horizon anyways, which is not good because it just adds on to the national debt and makes it even worse, and only prolongs the eventual suffering that we will have economically. And, the busiest time of the year, the holiday season, football season, fall sports, that's in jeopardy. Imagine all the revenue lost in advertising dollars, all the tickets for games that are lost, all the money spent on holidays like Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. Are we really going to be able to get out and do normal things by then? I think we're being a little hopeful, knowing, that this really took place in March, this whole lockdown, and it's August now, and we're still in it, and it's gotten worse, and the second wave is starting to hit. Do people really think we're going to be done with this in 2020? Likely no. We're going to be dealing with this the rest of the year, and best case scenario, we get out of it by January. But that's not even a guarantee. Not everyone makes smart decisions. People are going to keep getting sick. Cases are going to keep going up, and a lot of these issues are going to be pervasive. And the economy is not going to recover very quickly. And if the economy doesn't start recovering, you're going to feel that widely. And that's already being reflected in the US dollar index, where the US dollar is down 4% in July alone. And I think at this point, the dollar is at its lowest point since the '08 recession, according to the US dollar index. The dollar, the hegemony, I can't even say the word, the hegemonic, stance of the dollar, the backbone of global financial infrastructure in the world. Okay, in reality, it's not going to disappear immediately. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and then all of a sudden, dollar's worth is zero. That's not realistic, but it is getting weaker. And, a few weeks from now, a couple months from now, end of the year, it could be significantly worse. And that's important to keep in mind. And one of the things I've talked about a ton, and a lot of people have talked about, is, what are alternative assets, that can help protect your wealth and get you through these times so you can come out the other side better than ever. Crypto is one of those alternative asset classes. And again, we've talked extensively about Bitcoin and all the reasons there for why it's a long-term store of value and you should own some of it. We've talked about Ethereum and Cardano and how they're both eventually going to start battling it out for control of the overall DApp industry that's new and that's on the scene and that's popular. That market share is going to slide from Ethereum to Cardano slowly and to other platforms too, which I want to get into. But those aren't the only three things in the entire world that, have potential to grow, have potential to do well and have good development and go up in price and go through big cycles. There's a whole market. So I want to also talk about some of the dark horses that, I don't talk about often that are important that, could become incredibly relevant by the end of the year. And some of them have been around for quite a while since, the very beginning, even before Ethereum, I believe, in some situations. So I have three in particular that I want to dive into really quickly because I think they're the most relevant at the moment. And the first one is Ripple XRP. Ripple has been around for a while. Ripple has had its fair share of lawsuits and been through court cases, and it's been tried and tested over time. And they've also, it doesn't move a whole lot in price, but it has had some massive price swings when you enter a bull market or a bear market. So Ripple, it does move in value. It is something you can speculate on as an investment. I believe the highest it's been is like $3.50, and it's at 30 cents right now, 29 cents. So the spread on that, the margin is huge. The same thing that gives Cardano great investment potential is the spread between the price, between the all-time high and where it's at now. So yeah, Ripple is, makes a lot of sense to invest in from that perspective, but you also want to look at what the projects are doing. Like what is Ripple doing? Where are they at right now? What have they been going through? Recently Ripple has been in a lawsuit with some disgruntled investors, that probably aren't happy with the fact that Ripple hasn't gone up in price like they've, praised it and hoped that it will. So then you took them to court. You took Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple, to court. And their claims against XRP were that, they were pushing it, in the direction as a security. They're making claims that they couldn't afford to make, and they wanted the court to classify XRP as a security. So this is what's important and applies broadly to crypto, not just Ripple. The court actually ruled in XRP's favor, in Ripple's favor, stating that, accusations, of such require evidence. So you can't just accuse XRP of, having the same properties as a security and, not fulfilling promises when there's no expectation to fill those promises yet. So, there was a debate on that in court. And eventually they ruled in their favor. But what this means essentially is that the courts aren't going to just rule that cryptos are a security or a property. They want you to substantiate that with evidence. So in Ripple's case, the courts are showing that, cryptos in general are likely going to be considered properties as they've been classified so far, unless there's substantial, compelling evidence brought forward to suggest otherwise. So that's good, meaning that, cryptos in general will not just fall under the securities class. They're going to probably stay under the asset class of, property until, they come up with their own designation at some point, which is likely to happen soon. But, Ripple got through that and they're fine. And that's part of the reason why their price jumped so much and went from 20 cents to 30 cents, biggest move they've seen in a long time. And Ripple also has a banking app most people aren't aware of that's expected to go into alpha launch by the end of the year. So there's some real use cases with Ripple. And we all know how fast Ripple is, how they've touted that for a long time. They have the banking connections. They work with MoneyGram, Santander, and they've done pilots with central banks, and they're all over the world trying to solve these remittance issues. So I wouldn't sleep on them. People have, criticized Ripple for being centralized, because they control the nodes and they don't put this emphasis on decentralization. But who the fuck cares? At the end of the day, there are projects out there that focus on decentralization, and that's great. And there are projects that don't. That doesn't make them a bad project. That's like saying every other company in the world that's centralized has to be a bad company because they aren't decentralized. They aren't following this new radical norm. So Ripple's not a bad project. It's a good project. It's number 3 in the world in market cap for a reason. So there's value there. It is it's been a solid investment, and it's seen some huge gains, seen some huge losses, just like everything else. And there's potential. So Ripple's definitely one of my 3 dark horse cryptos to perform at some point. If these banking connections fall through and the way that they should, and they follow through on their promises, and they launch a banking app and they start helping the unbanked, they will do very, very well. There's a lot of potential for that. So you should definitely keep them in your scope. The second crypto dark horse that I like, that even I've held for quite a long time, is Stellar. The reason why I like Stellar is I see him as a natural competitor to what Ripple's doing. And they have the partnerships as well. They've done their pilots. They have one that's well known with IBM, where IBM chose to run their World Wire project on Stellar. And they share, a similar goal of making it cheap and easy for financial institutions to send currency anywhere in the world in any kind of volume to anybody. So again, back to this whole banking the unbanked ordeal, this question we're all trying to figure out and solve. There are 2 billion people roughly in the world that don't have access to financial services. Someone's going to solve that at some point, and that can change very quickly with blockchain if applied correctly. And Stellar is one of those projects that's working hard to solve that, just like Ripple is. Stellar is just as fast. They're just as good. They have just as good infrastructure as Ripple has at this point, just as good of partnerships. And the reason why Ethereum is doing well, why Cardano is doing well, is there's a huge competition heating up in the decentralized application market, the dApp market. And as Cardano moves into launching its first applications in 2021, as Ethereum moves into Ethereum 2.0 with staking, they're going to compete heavily. And that's going to make them both grow tremendously. Same thing with remittance. Ripple their main focus is solving the issues with remittance, making it easier, cheaper, accessible to the people in the world that are unbanked. Bringing 2 billion people online, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And Ripple's natural competition might be Stellar. It's not Bitcoin. It's not Ethereum. It's not a platform. It's not just the fact that something's decentralized. It's the fact that that's their goal, their focus. So Stellar, not just because they seem like natural competition to Ripple, but also because they have good tech. They have a good platform, and it's ran very well, and they have strong partnerships. So those are two of the crypto dark horses that, I watch very carefully that I think have a lot of potential. Seriously, no joke. And the third one, my third dark horse that I keep a very close eye on, is not cryptocurrency focused blockchain. It's a platform focused, very similar to Ethereum and Cardano and EOS and Tron and everything else that's trying to create an ecosystem for dApps. Tezos is my third dark horse, and probably the most interesting dark horse because of their history with their ICO and some of the conflicts of interest they've had and whatnot. But it is a good platform, and it's here. And I think as people learn more about it, it's going to start increasing in value. And I think people are going to build on it more and realize that, hey, this is a good platform. This is something that can compete with Cardano and Ethereum for the meantime. And we'll see where it goes in the future. But they have some interesting properties that make Tezos valuable. The fact that you can upgrade Tezos without forking the blockchain. To have the Shelley mainnet go out for Cardano, you have to fork Cardano. For Ethereum to move to Ethereum 2.0 and begin staking and move away from proof of work, you have to fork Ethereum. Having that forking process can really create divisions within a community. And Tezos can solve that issue with avoiding that problem, not forking at all, having a blockchain that can update without having to split it, without having to split the code base. It's called self-amendment. That'll come in very valuable, I think, in the future for them if they keep growing. They're also already a proof of stake platform, and you can easily stake on Tezos on Coinbase right now. And they have some of the best rates for staking on the year too, annually, which is, I think, at 5.48% annually on Tezos. So right now you could go to Coinbase, you can buy some Tezos, and you will earn staking rewards holding it on Coinbase, and it'll reflect in Coinbase, I believe, each day or each couple of days or monthly or however they release it. But it's a great option if you want to make a little bit on the year. 5.48% is not a lot for most people on the year, but if you're holding a lot of money, it does add up. So, and plus, if you think about it in terms of the tokens instead of the US dollar amount, the token could be worth a lot more in the future. So if you're getting a set amount of tokens and then it goes up exponentially over a year or two, and then that 5.48% isn't necessarily that important. It's the value, the spread on Tezos, which is at about $3 right now, and has potential to do something that Ethereum's done and be worth hundreds of dollars. Who knows? It all depends on growth and how many people go to the platform. But it has a lot of potential. And the co-founder, Arthur Brightman, and his wife as well, which is pretty unique. He's very smart. They're both very smart. And they come from backgrounds at Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, mathematics degrees. And I think that intelligence and that leadership is going to help Tezos continue growing down the line, just like how having Charles Hoskinson helps Cardano grow. Having Vitalik Buterin with Ethereum helps Ethereum grow and stay unified. I think these things are important. What team is in place? Are they vocal? Are they passionate? Are they working hard? Are they smart? I think Tezos has some of that. And I think that will lend a huge helping hand to them growing in the future. So those are my three crypto dark horses: Ripple, Stellar, and Tezos. I'm not recommending that you buy anything. I'm not giving you investment advice. You need to make your own decisions and consult properly with your own people. However, I do think they're worth your time. I think you should look at them and consider them outside of just Bitcoin, just Ethereum, just Cardano. I think they have a lot of potential. And, the top 10 in crypto, the top 20 will get shaken up a lot. There are others that I didn't mention. We could talk about Tron and whether or not it's viable. We could talk about Neo and whether or not they're actually going to be able to capitalize on the Chinese economy. We could talk about Chainlink and how much popularity that's gained so far. We could talk about some that are incredibly undervalued right now in the top 50 or top 100, but there's too much to talk about and too much to go into, and I want to focus on what's important. So, other than what I've talked about in the past, Ripple, Stellar, and Tezos are definitely my dark horses for 2020 and my dark horses going into 2021. And I highly recommend that you guys brush up on your knowledge on them and do your own research. You might like what you find. Anyways, hopefully this economy, this global economy, finds a way to improve at some point, but reality is it probably won't this year, and the problems will probably be persistent for a while. So you need to learn to adapt. Successful people always learn to adapt to their situation. That's what makes them successful. So same thing with investing. That's why you're here. That's why you're learning about this stuff. So learn to be flexible, learn to keep educating yourself on everything, not just crypto, all kinds of different alternative assets outside the stock market, outside crypto, outside gold and silver. There are a lot of things out there. So keep educating yourself, stay smart, stay safe, and see you guys next time.